Have you ever wondered what will happen to our body after we eat? Great! This lesson will be suitable for you. Good day everyone, my name is Donita Rose Perez from Vitalet 2A and I'm one of the presenter for today. Are you excited to learn? Or do you have any idea about what will be our topic for today? Right! Our topic for today is about digestion, absorption, and metabolism. So the first one is digestion. Before the body can use the food, it has to be first absorbed by the bloodstream. This is done by the breaking the large insoluble food molecules into smaller, soluble ones by the process of digestion, which is performed by digestive system. Digestion is also the mechanical and chemical breakdown of the food into small organic fragments. Mechanical digestion refers to the physical breakdown of large pieces of food into smaller pieces which can subsequently be assessed by digestive enzymes. In chemical digestions, enzymes break down food into the smaller molecules the body can use. The second one is absorption. The simple product of digestion is small enough to be absorbed by the epithelial cell of the intestinal villi. Each day, the alimentary canal processes up to 10 liters of food, liquid, and GI secretions. Yet less than 1 liter enters the large intestine. Almost all ingested food, 80% of electrolytes and 90% of water are absorbed into the small intestine. Although the entire small intestine is involved in the absorption of water and lipids, most absorption of carbohydrates and proteins occurs in the jejunum. The small intestine is highly efficient at this absorbing monosaccharides and an estimated rate of 120 grams per hour. Notably, bile salts and vitamin B12 are absorbed in the terminal ileum. Before the body can use the nutrients present in the food, the nutrients must pass through the stomach or intestine walls into the body's tissues, a process called absorption. Nutrients are absorbed into either the blood or lymph, two fluids circulating throughout the body, delivering needed products to the cells and picking up waste. Blood is composed mostly of water, red blood cells, which carry the and deliver oxygen to the cells, white blood cells, which are important in resistance to disease. It's also called immunity, nutrients, and other components. Lymph is similar to blood but no red blood cells. It goes into the areas where there are no blood vessels to feed the cells. So the last one is metabolism. Textbook define metabolism a topic in biochemistry as a series of chemical reaction that takes place inside of our bodies to sustain life. Now, this is a pretty broad definition of metabolism. So in this video, I really want to break this definition down to more workable understanding of what metabolism really is. The requirements of life, let's say in a human being, such as, maintaining a constant internal temperature, reproducing, growing, etc. All of that ultimately boils down to the body's ability to utilize four essential biomolecules. And these four essential biomolecules, or as they sometimes known as the macromolecules, are proteins, fats, carbohydrates or carbs, and nucleic acid, like DNA or RNA. And ultimately, all of these biomolecules perform different life-sustaining reactions inside of all the cells in our body to ultimately promote life. So as you can see, we are already begun to break down the definition of metabolism essentially. What we're saying here is that metabolism is really the study of how we're able to obtain the important biomolecules to sustain life. So, how we obtain these biomolecules? Now, a simple answer to this question is, of course, we eat food. To obtain all of these important biomolecules. But there's an important word of caution here, which is that since most of foods comes from the living organism like plants and animals, these plants and animals also contain an array of proteins, fats, carbohydrates, nucleic acid, but not necessarily in the same flavor or configuration that our body would prepare. So what do our body do instead? Well, in our bodies, we go ahead and eat the food. So we break down this food through the process called digestion into the component parts of all these biomolecules. So what do I mean to the component parts? Well, the smallest subunit of proteins is called amino acid. And our body break down all the individual amino acids. And the same pattern continues for the rest of the biomolecules. So in the case of fats, we're talking about the fatty acids, which are the smallest subunits of fat. And for the carbohydrates, we are long chains of sugar. One of the most common subunit of carbohydrates that our body loves is called glucose. And then finally, for the nucleic acid, we're talking about nucleotides. So maybe you're probably thinking of how does breaking them down do anything for us? Now, the key here is to recognize that in our body, there is actually a delicate balance going in between the process of breaking down molecules, such as in the process of digestion, and then taking these products and building them back up. So essentially, you can see all of these subunits or monomers as Lego pieces that we're essentially constructing to build the right configuration of proteins, fats, carbs, and nucleic acids that our body needs. Metabolism is a balance between breaking things down and building them back up into our body so that we can customize, so to say, that what type of macromolecules that we create. And just to throw vocabulary words, biochemists call the process of breaking down molecules in our body called catabolism, and similar sounding word called anabolism to describe the process of building molecules back up. Now, there seems all fine and elegant, but there's one more issue that we need to contend with, which is a consequence of having to balance breaking things down and building them back up. And that is the process of building molecules back up requires energy. So the question that I want to answer in this last part of my video is, where does this energy came from? Now, the answer to this question is that, well, we also get this energy by eating food. So how does that work? So first, recall that the energy currency of our body is the molecule called ATP, or also known as adenosine triphosphate. And these high energy molecules is often referred to when it's broken down into ADP, or also known as adenosine diphosphate. So it loses a phosphate group. It releases usable chemical energy that can fuel energy requirement process in our body, such as the building up process of anabolism. Now, in order for this process to continue nonstop in our body, ADP must be regenerated into ATP, and that is where the food comes in. So remember that we digest our food into all of these subunits. And some of the subunits such as glucose, fatty acids, mainly but occasionally amino acids, can essentially be used as fuel in our body. So just like wood, for example, it is a fuel for burning fire which produce heat. These fuels in our body can essentially be broken down even further to produce the energy that's necessary to convert ADP back into ATP, and thus allow this cycle to continue. And just to tie everything here together at the end, you will notice here that another way to interpret this cycle between ATP and ADP is to say that catabolism fuels anabolism. So, what do I mean by this? Well, essentially catabolism, such as the process of breaking down the extracting energy through process of the cellular respiratory in coupled with this process of building things back up, and so in the essence of relies on the other, You can probably guess that these processes are really tightly regulated in our bodies. Because obviously, you wouldn't want to be breaking down something while you are building something back up.